Today, NVIDIA is going to improve your games, and you can see my air quotes this time. This is ChillPoint.
Do we have to do this all episode?
All episode.
All episode?
All
Bunny,
episode.
bunny ears.
Yeah.
Hey everybody, welcome to ChillPoint, the show where we talk about the week's video game news and anything else that happens to come up.
that's
Something's
good.
wrong.
Something-
Beach, why don't you have any food?
I had a bit of food before I left the house.
You ate beforehand?
And then I actually generally will eat beforehand before I even show up here.
believe you.
I do, but you just also sometimes will be like, oh, I better make sure that he's fed, so I'll go get him some food, which is so great. It's so great.
Didn't do that today. Is this a complaint?
No, it's not a complaint
praise?
at all. It's just saying that sometimes that happens.
Okay.
Yeah, this is one of the times, the rare
can-
times it does not happen.
I can
So
stop.
he doesn't have food because you didn't feed him, is what he's saying.
Yeah, that's what I'm hearing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Taking some real heavy damage at the
We're
beginning
gonna do
of this
another
stream
one of
for
these
some
things like we
reason.
did last night.
I will suffocate you with a pillow.
Yeah, please don't. Appreciate it.
Okay.
Hey, let's talk about video game news.
Yeah.
And this week we started with I don't know if it's like going to be a thing forever, but we've certainly
This is like
gotten
the
back into
third-
chill points
Third week.
Yeah.
in
or
a
gotten
row?
into quick points.
Yeah. It kind of, I think,
We kind of like rediscovered it. We were like, hey, yeah, we should do more of those.
I feel like what's happened is Graham just kind of been itching to write monologue comedy for a little while. And I think that's what kind of led to this. Is he's like, man, this is so dumb, but I could just write 3 lines and be done with it. And I think that's kind of just, there was some sort of thing there. So he's been doing that quite a bit, which has been very cool.
And now, so going into this week, there was some stuff. We were like, wow, there's actually like
Some positive news?
there's a lot of positive news this week.
Yeah.
We could do like a whole positive episode of Checkpoint.
We
Yeah.
could.
Didn't turn out that way.
Almost.
Didn't turn out that way.
Could have.
But there were some positive stuff, and we mostly covered them in these quick points.
I think the concentration of positive news has been a lot higher this week, which is
It has.
Yeah, I don't know if that's just because of everyone's looking to report on that kind of stuff, or that we're actually like pattern matching has kicked in and we're just kind of like, oh my god, finally something that isn't about nah. So yeah,
Yeah, I mean, it's just that maybe it's just that there hasn't been any bad, like there's not necessarily any big
Yeah.
reason for it. It's
Yeah.
just
so
but
much
anyway,
bad news everywhere else that everyone's like, please let me find something good to say.
But yes, Atlas is lowering their overtime requirements and increasing their base salaries.
So I want to point out it's fixed overtime requirement.
Yeah,
I went to look
Oh,
this
that's
up
true.
because I didn't know what that meant because I've never had a job that had that. And fixed overtime, I actually think is pretty interesting because what that means is you are paid for that overtime always.
right.
It's part of your contract that, and they're bringing theirs down to 20 hours a month. Which just essentially means that if you need to work overtime to finish some stuff or to do whatever, they've already paid out 20 hours of overtime to you.
I see.
If you go beyond that, they're supposed to pay excess overtime.
Then
is
it's
how that works.
Then
in
it's
Japan.
overtime.
That's interesting.
Overtime.
Yeah.
Because what that says to me is they are already aware of how many man hours they need in a
Like, isn't that just your working more hours a week?
Yeah.
Week?
It can be.
yeah.
It's. I feel like it's kind of akin to. It's not the same thing, but it's a little bit akin to if you've ever had a job where they don't want to pay you overtime ever. So if you work over like an hour on one day, you're expected to leave an hour early the other day.
Exactly.
Kind of thing.
And this is
But-
more of a thing where they're like, you're on 40 hours a week and we're already
Yeah.
paying you an extra 20 hours a week. So the expectation is you will be here 60 hours a week.
I mean, the point of it is supposed to be if you work those extra hours, you've already been paid for them. If
Yeah.
you don't work those extra hours, we've paid you for them.
Yeah. But they understand that this job, the jobs that these people who are getting fixed overtime. It's like, we understand that your job will on the regular go over 40 hours a
Can
week.
go over 40
yeah,
hours
you could
a
work 49 this week, you could work 42 next week. You could work the full
But
60
it
on a third
also
week.
has to explicitly be in your contract. This isn't just like a thing
Yeah.
that like pops up on you.
Yeah. And so they're just like, it's just easier for us to pay you out that money all the time, knowing that you have that the flexibility is there, and you're going to be getting more than what you are working, and we don't have a problem with that, because why shouldn't you be getting paid more than when you're working?
Yeah, and I point this out because
Yeah.
like, we see this a lot in anime, the Japanese work culture of I'm not done my work for the day yet, so I can't leave.
Yeah.
And when
Yeah.
you watch that with like no context, that just feels like what?
Yeah.
Well, yeah, and I mean, it seems like it could work.
Yeah.
Although, it's in the sort of corporate environment that most people find themselves in, and most things work these days. It seems hard to imagine that wouldn't just be, we're paying you for this extra amount, so you better be here.
Yeah, there is that thing
Sure.
too, that it's like the expectation is that we're already paying you the 20 hours a week, and so
So that's a tough one, but it could work well.
yeah.
I'm just saying that at least when it's in your contract and it's like, sure, it's down as 40 and you're probably actually going to end up working, like if you're doing 20 a month, that would be 45 a week.
Oh, I see. Okay, yeah. It's
Then,
not 20 hours
so
a week,
like this
20.
extra 5 hours a week that's supposed to be like, so you can get your work done. And yeah, you probably actually use it. That's a lot better than the job that says, hey, you're supposed to start at 8 and then we get mad at you for not logging in at 7.
Yeah.
Even though it's not
Right,
in your
yeah,
contract at all, right? Like it's
assumed-
still very clear,
Assumed overtime.
even though
Yeah.
it might create this other thing.
Yeah.
I still think it's kind of a better system.
Certainly better than unpaid overtime.
Yeah, definitely. And yeah, I mean the thing of I have to log into a system. I mean, timesheets were one thing, but it's like logging into a system and then having to go to a thing and saying, "Oh, I worked from this time to this time on this date," and like all those kind of things. It's like that is more work for the employee to do, and it's also more work for somebody in payroll to have to, be like, oh, well, I have to look at this or track this or whatever. You're a big enough company, probably a lot of it's being done automatically, but also a lot of times when you work overtime and you have to register stuff that way, those reports all have to go to your manager, and then they have to spend an hour or two looking through everybody's things and being like, oh yeah, I authorize this, I authorize this, I authorize this, and now they're just saying, that's just wasting more people's time. So
Yeah.
why don't we just pay the extra 5 hours a week and just be like, whatever, just
Yeah,
you get this time.
It was 30 hours a month. They're reducing it to 20 hours a month.
Yeah.
It sounds, to me, that sounds a lot like, I mean, if you think about it, if we're raising base prices and we're taking off an extra 10 hours
Yeah.
of overtime, that's kind of how we're shifting our math.
Yeah.
Probably a bit, but it also likely means that they don't really want, if you're going with the expectation of that's 5 hours a week you are now expected to have to do,
Mm-hmm.
I feel like what they're doing is like, well, actually we'd like that less. We're gonna lessen people's work hours.
Yeah. And we don't know also what the work culture at any of these places are like. So it could be very supportive at Atlas.
Yeah.
It could be very much a worker team focused environment, as opposed to like the manager servant thing. It could be it could be any sort of like culture, and
Yeah.
hopefully the culture, if they're doing this, they're saying actually we come down more on side of we want the worker to feel like you're making more money,
Whether
and you're
you
not
believe
on the hook for
in
hours.
them or not, the article states that the reason they want to do this, and they're doing it in April because that's when new hires are done and how they do stuff in Japan. The thing they've stated is that they want to do this for I can't remember the full line, but it's basically for the health of the employee, because we want people to have a stable income and to also not overwork themselves.
Yeah.
Amazing.
So
I wonder if
they're saying words I like,
Yeah,
even
absolutely.
whether I believe in them or not. Different
And
story.
there
But
I wonder if continually making games where like the plot, a large portion of the plot is punishing people who are abusing their power over their employees.
Yeah.
if that like trickles down into the company culture at all.
Some people are making suggestions about, okay, so in the next Persona game, there's this guy who's like a middle manager who oversees a bunch of programmers, and he's an asshole, and everyone's like, okay, yeah, I mean, we get the point. We're not going to put that in the game, but we understand, yeah. Also, that's a larger. I think that's a larger. There's an ill. I mean, you talk to people who live in. I have a friend who lives in Japan, and he's been very much. He posts about this on his account every so often about how it's the frustrations of more child-free couples, or people not getting married, or people not establishing like a household full of people. They're just kind of like living by themselves in an apartment, like that kind of thing, and how it's all rooted in the same stuff that's happening everywhere, which is job prospects suck. Wages have not gone up to match what everything else, what's going on everywhere else. Everyone who's at the entry level is very much aware of how much money is going to the people at the top of an organization versus how much they're collecting to take home, and what the massive disparity between that, the constant, like, the last 10 years of adjustment. I mean, the entertainment industry, I should say. So in manga and anime, they've even been leaning into stories over the last 5 or 10 years about black companies that are terrible to work for, and into like, oh, we understand, like, we have a bunch of old timers who have been here since the 80s and the 90s, and they remember the boom times when you could just go out and you could spend like $10,000 on entertaining clients and stuff like that. And you just go to the expense place, and because the money was everywhere, right? It was just flowing freely. Yakuza 0 was literally about that. Everybody has been kind of focused on that being, hey, remember when that used to happen, and that shit don't happen anymore. And it's just kind of gotten worse and worse and worse for younger people. And I wonder if that has resulted in more of these companies saying, oh, yeah, I guess we need to do what we can to ensure a stable environment for people to work and give them more money and let them start to establish themselves with a real life.
So
I mean, in North America, it hasn't.
It hasn't happened here yet, yeah.
If you're unaware, the terminology black company refers to, in Japan, a company that is grueling to work for.
Yeah,
You're
they mistreat
being
their
punished all the
employees.
time. You are working overtime, probably for no benefit. You basically sleep there all the time, that kind of thing.
I gathered that from the context, but thank you for the
feel
clarification.
Like they might need it.
Yeah, it's worth letting people know.
Sorry.
Yeah.
Some of you might need that.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Not everybody is that geared into anime, and I'm willing to believe that some of you are not.
Yeah.
Let's move on to Switch 2 update.
Yeah.
Which unlocks the ability to play Switch 1 titles in docked mode when the Switch 2 is in handheld mode.
And you
Yes,
might be
that
like,
was actually pretty clear.
and you might be like, okay, so why does that matter? And it matters because the Switch 2 screen is 1080p and not 720p. The Switch 1 screen was 720p, much a lower resolution. And so people have been like, why do Switch 1 games look like trash on my Switch 2 when my Switch 2 clearly has a much higher resolution screen?
In some cases, they actually looked worse than they did on the Switch 1.
Yeah.
And also some Switch games would also do other stuff. They would throttle on when you're in handheld mode. And stuff like that.
The because the handheld had 720, but in docked mode it was 1080. A lot of games were set up that way because then they run nicer in handheld, and you've got only so much going on with your battery and stuff. And this is basically just unlocking. It's telling the Switch 2 that Switch 1 game is basically in TV mode, in docked mode, so that it can run at 1080.
Yeah.
It's not the only thing that came out in that update. It's just the big one.
And I've seen a couple videos, at least on YouTube, go up where it's like, let's test this. And I haven't watched them or anything, but there has been a thing of, what is your battery life going to be like now that it's running a Switch 1 game unlocked?
They have warned people that there may be some effect to your battery.
Makes sense to me. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
As somebody who is actually, I'm currently playing Mario Odyssey with a Switch 1 game, and so I saw this update and I was like, ooh, is it going to get better? No. Well, if I was playing it in handheld mode, I guess it would look better. But I'm just playing it docked anyway. So
yeah, they haven't made a Nintendo Switch 2 edition
I don't think Odyssey hasn't
Odyssey.
gotten, which is
Yeah.
it seems weird. Like it seems like that would have been one they would.
Yeah, because that is really does feel like a marquee game, but there's so many games that you could make that case for, I
Yeah.
guess. And
I mean, that
guess
one
they
came out-
knew that they were like,
It was a
well,
launch. Yeah.
they knew
That was
that
a-
Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom have to be the ones that they do first. Makes sense to me.
Facebook. Now here's an interesting story.
Oh Jesus!
This has had an update.
Yeah, literally the morning of when we were recording.
So Facebook is so the story is Facebook is shutting down the VR the VR portion of the metaverse.
Woo!
Because apparently, according to Facebook, the metaverse was never intended to be VR only.
Oh,
It doesn't just encompass VR, you know.
It was just always meant to suck.
Yeah,
Well,
it
yeah.
could suck in all sorts of different ways.
Right.
In different mediums.
Like mobile.
So, and apparently mobile is the area where they're seeing the most excitement right now. It's like one guy. Woo!
I love them. I'm the only one here, and it's great.
At least Bob cares.
So fucking quiet.
But yeah. Whereas in the VR, there's nobody. Anyway. Well, apparently though.
Apparently.
Apparently that is not true
Oh.
because they have said that like no, they are not going to shut down the VR metaverse.
Oh.
Now, whether it's they were going to shut it down and then there was such a fan outcry that they've decided to keep it, which is what they said, or what that's one story that has been going.
I
Or-
don't believe that.
Or they were never intending to shut it down and that was a misinterpretation of from journalists.
They did blame miscommunication in the article that I
Yeah.
submitted.
Whatever the case is, they've said that no, they are not going to shut it down. Your meta, because it's sort of got kind of like a Roblox thing going on where it's like a platform as well as a thing
okay,
for
good.
other.
Thank Christ. Not that kind of Roblox thing going on. Okay.
Well,
It might.
It's like a platform where you can like create experiences
Sure.
or whatever, right?
Yeah.
And so it's like, no, you can still keep playing those experiences. You can still keep playing things. Your MetaQuest goggles or headsets will still
Right.
keep connecting to it and stuff. And I mean, part of it might be that was like one of the big selling points of the MetaQuest headsets was that you can. I mean, they can play other
Sure.
VR games.
Yeah, none of us own a MetaQuest headsets. It's not like
But-
we really know what sold them to people.
But that
so-
was apparently that was sort of one of the big things. So if they shut that down, then there's a certain, I don't know if there's actually like the like stop killing games class action lawsuit kind of
Yeah.
thing. Who knows?
My favorite line from the article I submitted was he described the metaverse as a misunderstood concept that was never meant to only encompass virtual reality.
No, it was meant to be like Snow Crash, which is my favorite book, and I want it to be like Snow Crash, and I want to be hero protagonist, and I want to have a katana.
Snow Crash just was virtual reality, from
Yeah.
what I could tell.
Yeah.
So the third option, which we are not bringing up because who knows if it's true or not, but it seems pretty likely to me, is spite.
He said bringing up the third option.
Yep.
What? Spite?
Is spite. The reason why they are now not shutting it down is because they saw how happy everybody else was that they were doing it, and they said, but you can't be happy about failure. No, we're gonna bring it back. I'll show you, Mom. Fuck you, Dad. That's what I feel is kind of going on here. Is a lot of like, I am a stunted
don't have to yell
child,
into the mic.
and I want my things that I want. And then I was prepared to say goodbye to something until a whole bunch of people on the internet got really happy about it. And I said, no, I have more money than God, and I will keep this thing going until all the shareholders kick my ass out. That's what I think's happening.
I think the actions of Meta / Facebook and the actions of Zuckerberg himself are not that closely.
I
tied
never
together.
said Zuckerberg.
Yeah, but he was the one who constantly was posting dumb things like getting into cage fights or whatever.
Yeah.
That was him, right?
Yeah. I didn't. It might not be him who's the one who's acting like this in the company, right? So.
Anyway.
Yeah.
The metaverse. So I mean, this is one of those like, if I did care about the metaverse,
Mm-hmm.
I would still be pretty sad because like they're like, okay, we're not going to shut it down. It's going to have like no new stuff and no development, but we're not shutting it down.
That's good.
And so,
Yeah.
if you have any kind of connection to it, this would be the time to start migrating out.
Yeah, but you know what?
But-
It's also like that's fine because so many people who are like into something very early want it to never change. So you can World of Warcraft Classic this metaverse thing all you want for the next 20 years while Facebook just keeps it limping along. They'll never make a change to it, and you can be extremely happy that your life online will never be any different.
It's like in the new Tron movies.
Oh yeah.
There's that thing where they'll go into Flynn's lab, right, after he's been dead or gone for like since the first Tron movie, 30 years ago, and they'll be like, and they go like, there's still a program running here, and then some other they get sucked in or the Tron thing.
Yeah,
happens.
another Tron thing happens again, and
But like that's sort of what it's gonna be like. Somebody is gonna like go into some back room of the Facebook headquarters.
yeah,
And it'd be like, there's still some metaverse thing happening here. What's going on?
don't shut it down.
Anyway. And then Arc Raiders.
Yeah,
Other more positive stuff. Arc Raiders, which has been very successful as a multiplayer sort of looter thing, or a escape thing.
extraction shooter.
Is it extraction shooter?
I'm
I
not-
thought it was a looter shooter. I don't actually
I
know.
thought Arc Raiders was like more like a battle royale, but I think it isn't because I'm thinking of like Apex Legends.
Because I know Marathon is the extraction shooter now.
Yeah.
Tarkov. So yeah, extraction.
Yeah, I guess it's
shooter
an
type
extraction
thing.
shooter then.
Anyway, it's been very popular, very thing. One of the things that has slightly
Diminish that shine.
Yeah, put a pow on it.
Yeah.
Is that it was sort of well known that they were using some AI voice work. In
Yeah.
it.
Yeah, for additional throwaway lines or something, I think was.
They started with a voice actor. They started with voice actors recording a bunch of lines and said we have the rights and ability to basically use their voice as a model to train up additional lines that we might need them to say without having to go back to them and get them to record them. Isn't that convenient for us?
Yeah, the premise was that as they add new content to the game, they didn't want to have to bring in the person to record 5 lines for this new thing that they're doing, which I can kind of understand. Apparently, they did actually make contracts with the voice actors to include those
provisions.
explicitly to include those provisions.
Mm-hmm.
How much actual sort of free choice the voice actor has in that circumstance is possibly debatable.
Yep.
But anyway, the new news is that apparently a bunch of those AI generated lines, they have actually gone back and now redone with real actors.
Right.
And the CEO says like, yeah, the AI ones weren't as good.
Yeah. There's a quality difference. A real professional actor is better than AI. That's just how it is.
Yeah.
He even said the semicolon. And it's just like, I mean, we've known that. It's nice to see that. The thing that gets me is you can say whatever you want. It's what you do next, which is the thing that will prove how much you stand behind the thing that you're saying. And so they're saying we're re-recording these lines with human actors. I'm like, that's great.
Or they already have.
They already have, and so it's like that's great. How many more steps forward do you take down that path? Because I don't know how much other Gen AI stuff is in Arc Raiders, and whether it's like that whole idea of like, well, we concepted some stuff in AI and then we went ahead and designed it. It's like,
and I mean, and maybe it's possible that like it's still, they feel like it's still fine to
yeah,
you do whatever do some stuff with AI voice and some stuff with things. So maybe there's a hybrid approach there, but
Yeah.
but anyway.
Yeah, this isn't the CEO saying, you know what, we've thought about it really long and hard. We decided we're going to excise every bit of generative AI created content out of our game, and we're not ever going to use it again. It is just saying, professional actors way better than AI. That's just how it is. It's like, okay, then I don't know how far that extends to anything, but good for you for the first steps.
And I mean, maybe it is literally, the Embark
Lip service?
But Embark is a pretty small. Arc Raiders is a relatively, I don't know if you would call it, I don't know if it qualifies as an indie game, but it's a relatively small game. And it kind of made a splash. And so maybe they are, AI voice stuff is what they had the budget for. And then they're like, now we can go back and replace some of the stuff that we have some money.
That is an interesting idea.
Or it's what, like, even if they, let's say that the voice actors agreed completely of their own volition, no shady stuff there, and that doing those throwaway voice lines, they were still going to pay the voice actor, say, the amount as if they had come in. You're still saving money on the studio time and the inconvenience in the scheduling, which is probably what they were aiming for when they did it. And if they're a smaller studio, then you do pick up materials to try and shorten things. Yeah. Now they've changed their mind on that. So I do think it is a valid idea that the game's done well enough now that they're like, you know what, actors do a better job. Let's replace those voice lines. It's not necessarily hey, AI is bad, we will never use it again.
Yeah.
No.
But it is a snapshot of right now, this person says humans are better. In however many years, that snapshot changes because that's an opinion.
Yeah, and that might even be it's always down to, it's hard to get someone to disagree with their own paycheck. And if that is the case of like, I got to keep the studio running, so I want to do things as cheap as possible so we can afford to actually make money off of this game, then it's like, right, if you're like, if I have to pay more people to do more work and I can't take as much money home for myself, that is going to hurt every time. And yeah, I can understand why the temptation is there.
But in this, it's important, I think. Yeah. In the because we've been very anti AI stuff, and lots of people online have been very anti AI stuff, and really making sure that we make that voice sort of heard.
Yep.
That this is something that we are not in favor of. And to really hold companies' feet to the fire on it. By that same token, though, I think it is important to highlight when it's like, okay, this was actually good.
Yeah.
Not as good as it, there are things that could still be improved, but yeah,
good for you.
Good for you. Good marks. Thank you. That's good.
Yeah.
we want positive reinforcement.
Absolutely.
And then final thing, actually tying into I believe the stream that just finished.
Oh, good.
Some Okie Okie Fight Club.
God.
I believe.
I forgot about this part.
I believe. I don't know if they were actually playing Alex in the game this year or this session. But so yeah, this
Capcom has decided that Alex from Street Fighter 6, who was originally in earlier Street Fighter games, is married to his adoptive sister. No, he's having a kid with his adoptive sister,
and also married.
She is also technically really his second cousin.
So his story from Street Fighter 3, where he originally started, was that I think his father was killed. And then this other guy, sort of his father's sparring partner and friend, adopted him.
Yeah.
And this guy also already had a younger daughter.
Okay.
Right.
Quite a bit younger
Yes.
than him, from what I understand.
Yeah.
So they grew up together. It was explicitly said that She's like a little sister.
Yep.
She sees him as a big brother.
Yep.
And that was Street Fighter 3.
That sounds fine.
Yeah.
That part sounds fine.
Yeah.
Street Fighter 6, we catch up with Alex, and apparently, like in his winning stuff, or when if you do his story mode or whatever,
Right.
so they are now married. Also, as this weird sort of like unforced. It's not like this was like a weird historical thing that they forgot about.
Yep.
They also now clarify that this guy who adopted him was his
Mom's cousin.
his mom's cousin,
Yes.
which means that she's his second cousin.
Yeah.
So now it's like, why did we that was information that we didn't have before, and we were fine. You
Yeah.
didn't have to add that
Yeah.
piece.
And
I mean, if they wanted to give us that information and not do the other part, again, that still would be fine.
I'm still trying to understand because I've seen I've seen people write as Patricia's his adoptive
Yes.
sister because he
Adopted.
was adopted into the family, not that she was adopted by
Yeah.
the guy who adopted him.
Yeah, he was adopted into the family. Yeah.
Right.
But, but nevertheless, she is still actually his second cousin.
Yeah, you can trace blood to back to them. So
And it's one of those things that like each individual part is like kind of questionable, but sort of okay, whatever.
Yeah.
Like second cousin is not that close.
No. It's actually legal in many, many places to be
Yes.
like you can have that kind of relationship. What's
In
weird
most
about
places,
this
I think.
is that what's weird about this more is that it's like you guys grew up together in the same house as siblings.
Yes.
You know, even if you were like X number of years apart, you still grew up together as siblings, and there was supposed to be that relationship established there. And having a sibling, whether by blood or by family, means that tends to be how you establish that relationship with them. And that's why it's so squicky to people when it's like, hey, this is like, so I'm not related to any of my cousins by blood. Due to the vagaries of how adoption works, none of my cousins are related to me by blood at all. That kind of thing. In fact, and in one side of my family, the two kids who were both adopted, not together, not as a brother-sister pair, but as like, I'm going to adopt you and then I'm going to adopt you later, that kind of thing. They're technically not related by blood either, but they grew up together as brother and sister, and boy, are they fucking brother and sister. Like, it's like that's how that relationship develops. You live in somebody's space like that, and they're constantly pulling your hair and stealing your stuff and like flushing your things down the toilet or like fucking with anything in your. It's like that's what that relationship is like. You don't all of a sudden turn around at age 20 and be like, "Oh, I want to put a baby in you." That doesn't happen that way, and the vagaries of family don't tend to lead to that. So it's kind of it is why it's kind of freaking everybody out.
I mean, a lot of anime likes to do what I'm assuming is fantasy fulfillment of the idea of wouldn't it be great if a hot girl lived under the same roof as me?
Yeah.
How can I make that happen? Well, I guess we could be related, but not really related.
Yeah.
Distant.
And then that will work.
I mean, Marmalade Boy played with that idea as an option, and then the manga went one way and the anime went the other way, if I remember correctly. That's like, oh, they are related, and actually turns out no, in the anime they're not related. And
in the anime they changed it.
yeah, because they're like, what if that was not the case? Because it would be a lot easier if that was not the case.
So anyway, each of the separate aspects is like sort of eyebrow raising.
Yes.
And then when you put it all together, it's like, why did you have all this? And then also that like it's, she's pregnant and it's like, that's actually like, oh, I can feel it kicking or whatever.
Yeah.
Which now that I think about it, I feel like that line could be very dangerous in a Street Fighter game.
Right, exactly. You're right.
Oh no!
You feel
Kicking!
kicking. I also though, I want to stay out of those people's lives. It's like I'm not interested in whatever's going on there anyway. So.
And also, if you've seen a picture what Alex looks like in the game, if he's up there at the altar and it's like if anybody has anything to say now,
object to.
Yeah, speak your peace. Speak now or forever hold your peace. I'm not saying anything.
Yeah, exactly.
He's giant.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, for Street Fighter, I guess he's average.
That's true.
Because everybody is a giant refrigerator in that game.
Yeah.
But everybody is
Oh
huge.
man,
Yeah.
God, Street Fighter would be so much better if everyone just like looked like refrigerators.
Actually, refrigerators.
Yeah, is there a mod for that?
It's just they're big boxes with arms.
Mm-hmm.
Do they have legs? Do they
No.
have arms? No, they're just
No,
they're
it's
just
just a
refrigerators.
refrigerator.
Just a big
Sometimes the door slams open.
white goods home appliance fighting
Please tell
game.
me there's a mod for that. I would download the game for PC.
I remember playing Gears of War.
Mm-hmm.
Gears of War 4, I think, is the one we're playing. But it's the same thing where like everybody is just
Jacked.
massively jacked. Like there's the guy who's like he's the like cowardly, weedy politician, right? And he is basically looks like Hulk Hogan. Like that's the weenie little guy. Is this like, in any other world, he
Yeah.
would be a massive bodybuilder.
Right.
In the Gears of War world, they're like, you're so puny.
Right. It's like comic book artists that can only draw one style of body, and so that's the body they draw over and over again.
Oh,
for
that's
everybody.
right. There are fridges you can fight in the game. I want it. Yeah, I want it like
You want the fridge to fight back.
PvP. Oh, they do.
Yeah.
That's right. I forgot. I played part of the story mode. There's like
really?
fridges and
Wait,
like
the fridges fight back?
and yeah, you just fight appliances sometimes.
The doors
I think,
fly open.
I think that part of the storyline is something like there's an evil tech company, and there's just like a lot of robots and stuff you end up
Oh, I
fighting,
see.
and then like fridges are also there. I think microwaves too, maybe.
The
It's been a while.
idea of Ryu being beaten by a fridge.
I just want it to be more like that's the point of the game. Like you two
Yeah,
fridges
yeah.
fighting, like in the same way
Appliance
that like
fighter.
the pony game has ponies fighting.
I feel like
Yeah.
that
Like
seems. I feel
fridges.
like that's the kind of game that there would be like a cutaway gag to in a Homestar
Oh yeah.
cartoon. Be like, oh, I'm so excited about the new Appliance Fighter 2000.
Yeah, I mean, I really adored the single player campaign for Street Fighter 6 because it is just you can just walk up to anyone on the street. It could be a businessman, just a lady ignoring
Feeding her
everyone
kid.
else, doing
Yeah.
whatever, and you'll be like, "Let's fight now," and you're both like, "Yeah, let's fight," and you fight, and it just feels like this is how this is how you talk to people,
Yeah.
Wow.
and it's really goofy.
All right. Well, let's move on to the slightly less quick points.
Okay, the
Although
long points.
Yes. Clearly, though, we have shown that the length of the story in the episode Checkpoint doesn't relate necessarily to the length of the time we talk about it.
Oh wow.
For instance, Tim Sweeney has been buying out big chunks of forest in North Carolina,
Yeah.
which I saw a lot of people in the comments to this being like, I kept waiting for the other shoe to drop, where it's like, and
He's been eating the trees.
yeah, he's going to use it for data centers or something.
Exactly. Yeah.
But it's like
Yeah.
no, he not only is he not
a Captain Planet villain.
doing something terrible with it, he actually donated most or a huge bunch of it to a totally separate land conservancy. Which is, and from what I understand, it's not like he started a land conservancy and then sent it to
Yeah.
them. This was an existing land conservancy
Yeah.
that he donated a whole bunch, which is the Southern Appalachian Highlands Conservancy.
The fact that we're hearing about this has one of these things the moment like when I saw the story I was like, good for Tim Sweeney for
Yeah.
doing this thing that is very ecologically sensitive, and that is we need more of that from people who have that kind of money to be like, you know what, I can help make sure that we're not going to have these kind of problems by doing XYZ thing. And I'm like, that's very good. Why are we hearing about this right now? Why is this a thing that pops up as a story that
Okay,
lets
you're
us
still
know?
looking for a shoe to drop.
What I'm seeing, what I'm feeling is that I'm like, somebody has a very good publicist.
I'll be honest, I didn't actually see this story. This is a story that Nelson found and brought and did a story about. Which I think it's a
great
nice
story.
It's a nice story.
Yeah.
But I didn't actually see where he got it from.
Nice. Which means that your feeds, which are usually quite extensive, are not picking this up. This is coming from somewhere else.
Technically, it's nothing. It is very peripherally video game related, other than it's just Tim Sweeney.
Yeah.
So I can see why it may not have come up.
Yep.
But yeah, it's cool, and it's. I mean, as like we were saying with the with the AI stuff in Arc Raiders, look, there's a certain aspect of, when billionaires do philanthropy.
Yes.
There's a certain aspect of it. It's like, yeah, it is probably partially to make themselves look better.
Yes.
Or make people like them more.
Absolutely.
But it's still good.
Yeah. Yeah. You have to.
And we should still, say that that's a good thing that you did.
That I think we should be allowed
Positive
to,
reinforcement.
Yeah, I think we should still be we should be allowed to be healthily cynical and laudatory. To be like, you've done a good thing. I don't think that has made you a good person, because just doing a good thing does not make you a good person. Doing many good things will probably end up making
Not necessarily.
making you feel like a
Again,
good person,
I want
but
to point
still.
out that you can do good and bad things.
Yeah.
They can do good and bad things. Everybody can do good and bad things. Maybe you do a lot of good things and a few bad things, and nobody ever notices your bad things because you don't have $1 billion behind your name.
Absolutely.
Depends on the degree. If you have a lot of money, you have the ability to do a lot more good than, say, something that I can do.
Yeah.
Because I have less resources.
Yeah.
But you can still do a lot of bad things, and people are going to take higher note of it. We want people to be, we want a dingus to be a dingus all the way through.
True.
Because it's easier.
Yeah.
It's easier to be like, haha, now I don't have to think about the fact that you did anything good. In the same vein that, this is a thing he did that's good. Well, his motives are probably not pure. Well, I can tell you, even people who are doing good things aren't entirely pure and always doing those
Right.
good things for pure reasons either.
Yes. Yep.
It's just the world.
Yep. But anyway, it just seems like a positive thing that he has done.
Absolutely.
So good on you. And also,
At least the trees are being saved somehow.
And also, you're legally not allowed to say anything bad about Google anymore.
Yes.
Which, if I was interviewing him, I would totally just be like, I would keep poking that.
Thoughts on Google?
Yeah.
And be like, I
So,
have no thoughts on Google. I'm like,
Google, yeah. What do you think about, yeah. Did you ever use Google Wave?
tell me what you thought about Google Wave.
It'd be really funny if he said, I miss Google Wave.
Oh, that'd be good.
Alrighty. Let's get into, NVIDIA is made a lot of news in the last week because they have shown off their new deep learning super sampling system, or deep learning super sampling, I should say, because there's not an extra S on there, which I saw somebody in the comments was like, thank you for actually saying what the acronym stands for, because nobody has.
They assume that if you knew about it when it originally came out for DLSS before it had a number, you would have learned it back then, wouldn't you have?
It is kind of like a nothing acronym. Like deep learning super sampling doesn't really mean anything.
Yeah,
It's also a mouthful to say, so people are going to shorthand it a lot.
One thing I will say about this technology, because at least before this latest version, this upsampling, resampling technology is something that is in every manufacturer has some version of it.
Yeah.
In fact, the PlayStation or Sony just released the new version of their version of this.
Yeah.
Called PlayStation or PS something.
PSSV? No, I got that wrong.
PSSR.
PSSR, that's it.
Yeah.
AMD has a version of it and all this stuff, which I personally find somewhat like, I wish we could there would be like a name for this technology. Rather than, because it's like,
everybody can make
it's like
their
this
own.
people have this thing, these people have this thing, these people have this thing. Those are all basically the same thing.
Yeah, it's like having 6 different names for the thing that screws up the look of your TV.
Yeah, it's like the trade name for the thing.
Yeah.
It was one of the, for a while, it was one of the rumors of like, when we get like the next Switch or whatever, it'll use DLSS to upscale
everything to 4K.
everything to 4K.
Yeah, I think Digital Foundry actually did a video on that where they're like the hardware that is expected to go into the Switch 2 will have a DLSS capability, and so they just use that to basically upscale everything from 1080p to 4K.
And I believe they are using it in some circumstances already.
I don't know.
I don't know. All I heard was rumor that that's the thing that they'll do.
Yeah, Nintendo's definitely not said anything about it.
I don't think I've heard anything official that says that's how they're doing things.
Because the Switch does use NVIDIA. Graphics stuff. So anyway, so DLSS has been around for a long time. I think NVIDIA was the first person who really pushed it, but then other people have come up and done similar things. And for those of you who don't know, it's also sometimes called frame gen. DLSS is basically, it is a system that allows your computer can run a game at a lower resolution or a lower frame rate. And then the card, your graphics card, either upscales or actually adds new frames between the frames. Mm-hmm. So you're playing a game at 30 frames a second, and it adds a new frame between each frame, so it actually looks like it's 60 frames a second.
It's kind of a wild idea when you think about it because it feels like magic.
It does, and the frame gen thing can be slightly problematic because it doesn't fix the latency. Mm-hmm. So there can be something weird there, but it is like I said, it's been around for almost 10 years now, and it's a quite robust technology, and it's surprisingly good. Like it can be very good.
Yeah.
And because of how it seems weird that it's faster to generate these frames rather than rendering them from
actually compute them, yeah.
But due to how the vagaries of how graphics processors work and the intense optimizations that they can put in place, it actually works out to be better. So anyway, that technology has been around for a while, and it works reasonably well. People have opinions one way or another or whether they like to use it or not, but
sure.
It's been going along for a while, and it's become quite mainstream. But NVIDIA is not content to do that. So their new version, so DLSS all the way up to 4.5, I think, was just better versions of that.
Right.
The new one, this DLSS 5, the intention is that it will actually take it past this point. So it will actually, rather than creating new frames where there weren't to fill in the gaps and do stuff, it's actually going to, so the marketing is that it's actually going to make the game look better by recalculating all the lighting for it,
right,
and make the lighting look more realistic, change how and recalculate how the lighting affects the different textures, so that translucent skin, or leather or rock or specular stuff. It's going to recalculate all that and render a much better picture than what was originally output.
But it turns out that the marketing is only capturing a piece of what's going on, because what we're actually seeing is what feels like the card has decided things should look like this instead of the way that they were designed.
Yes. So what seems to be happening, in fact, is it's basically, if you take a screenshot of a game, take it over to one of the common sort of Gen AI systems right now, typed in, make this look more realistic.
Yeah.
To simplify things, that's what you get out.
Yeah.
It's not using any of and there's been a couple of NVIDIA has been putting out a lot of smoke about this, and kind of weasel stuff about, oh yes, it's using it's taking the light and the textures information and using that to calculate the new stuff. And then there's a very good video that somebody posted where they had a email correspondence with an NVIDIA tech and asked very well worded questions to sort of cut through the BS.
That's cool.
And be like, okay, so is the system using anything more than just the image we can see, one frame,
Right.
and then there's motion data from how the frame changed from the
Right.
last frame.
Right.
Those are the two things. Is there anything else? And like, no, that's all it's using. So it's like, okay, so it's not, and like when you say it's using the information about like the textures, whether something's metal, whether something's leather, something, that's not the designer has spec'd that as being metal or leather or whatever. That's the standard AI thing. It looked at the image, it's inferring what that is
Right.
based on how AI image systems work.
Right.
It's guessing that that's leather, and then it's doing whatever it's doing to that to make it leather,
Huh.
to make the lighting work on it.
Okay.
And so, and there's been a lot of breakdowns of some of sort of specific things. There's another thread I saw that had a very good thing about like this picture. There's a picture, I think it's from Oblivion, of like a castle, and it shows like the two, before and after. This was a demo that they did. It's like outdoor castle, and like, they say it's like the lighting changes, not like it looks more sort of detailed in the AI version,
Right.
but also like the lighting changes completely. Like it's a different, the sun is in a different spot basically. Like it's like this, and like this tree is not setting a shadow the way it should, like,
Right.
because
When people take photos of buildings, they generally don't take them where they're locked in half shadow. They take a picture where the sun is behind them, and they get a beautiful picture of like, the whole building lit up.
And and
if they know how to take a photo, yeah.
Yeah, and that's usually the best looking photos on the internet are the ones that are taken by professional photographers. And so if you're working off of a model that is trained to understand that, then naturally it's going to look at that frame and be like, oh, that's not what a building should look like. It should look like this.
And they and there's the common thing where it's like, all the faces look very, they're sort of yassified or whatever you want to call it, but all the faces look very, and they have this sort of very smooth lighting on them. And they talk about part of the reason for that is that a lot of these AI models were trained on lots and lots and lots of like influencer pictures.
Oh, so everyone's got a ring light.
Yeah, pictures of
Yeah.
people under ring lights, and so it's naturally biased towards that.
There was a sense that I had. I was talking with everybody, it seemed, before we were releasing this story, where I had said that the pictures, like the thing is, like, when you see the Grace picture side by side, right?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And like when you see the DLSS on picture, I said that what that looks like to me is not Resident Evil Requiem. That looks to me like Resident Evil Requiem the movie. It looks like this is the person we would cast to play Grace. It would be in her contract that she has to like not look like she's been completely run down and like is having a terrible day. She'd have to be made up still, and that the lighting can't be such that it makes her look like a certain way. That we have to make sure that the lighting respects the fact that she's a beautiful woman, and therefore we have to make her always look like a beautiful woman, like that kind of feeling, right? I don't know how you explain the dude who has the mile-long chin in that other photo, but in that photo at least I was like, that felt like. This is what happens when, like, Grace doesn't look as realistic to me on the left-hand side as she does on the right-hand side. The person on the right-hand side looks like a real person. So there's a bit of uncanny valley there on the left side, right? Where I'm like, I look at that and I know that is something that's like something somebody designed and rendered, and it's not coming across. They want it to be a human, but I'm like, it's still not there for me. And I've seen other pictures like that too, where they're like, this is a real person now that you've made. I'm like, yeah, but that's also not what that's not the video game. Like I don't think if they wanted a real person, we had that. It's called Sewer Shark, and you can do full motion video games. You could still do that if you wanted to. And
as Foxmar, like the Foxmar in the chat is saying, the context in this this video, this guy was talking to the NVIDIA tech. He was like, so in that shot, that the sort of headline shot of Grace from Resident Evil, right? That's near the beginning of the game.
Right.
She is going to. This is slight spoiler, but it's from the very beginning of the game.
Okay.
She is going to investigate a murder that has happened in the same place where her mother was murdered several years before.
Right.
This is like an extremely like emotionally charged,
Very personal
thing that she's going into.
Yeah.
And she's a very as Foxmar says, she's like a super introverted person.
Right.
And like that's a thing like in her gameplay in the game is a lot of running away from things and stuff.
Yeah, she's got the more stealth portion of the game.
Which contrasts to the
Leon's
part where
Leon
he
gets more guns, so he has more of an action-oriented
literally,
style.
I think, like drives through with a motorcycle and like.
Oh, okay, good.
Anyway, the one thing I did want to quickly push back against, or slight pushback against, someone was mentioning, it's like, and the demo was even done with 2 graphics cards,
Yeah.
which is true.
Yeah.
That I don't actually see a big problem with. It was explicitly an early demo. Juicing up the computer that you're doing on the demo on is not that uncommon.
Sure.
And the idea was that the game was running on one card and the filter was running on the other card.
The intention is that when this thing
the
goes...
intention is that it will be on one card.
Right,
They're not saying everybody has to buy 2 590s.
No.
You do have to buy one though, if you can find one.
Yeah, good luck.
So the slight push, and also I will say, like, I don't have a lot of experience with Gen AI photos and stuff, but from what I understand of the current state of the technology, being able to do what they are doing at 60 frames a second, that actually sounds pretty, like, I feel like that is actually pretty impressive.
Like technologically impressive? Sure.
Technologically impressive.
Yeah.
I don't think it's a good idea for what they're actually doing with it, but I'm sure from an engineering and technological standpoint, it's quite an impressive feat that they have done.
Sure. I had seen somebody post a picture that was like, what games are going to look like when you turn the DLSS off in 5 years, and it was just basically like a horse, but it had just a cone for a face, and it was just a sausage with like 4 sausage legs, and it had like a person who was a stick man riding on the back of it. It was like, but all done in
Sounds like every horse I've drawn.
Yeah, it's all
Sounds like a pretty good game.
It looked like somebody's like first Blender project, right? And it was like, this is what the game's going to look like. Like if you turn DLSS off, it's just going to look like this.
It's going to look like West of Loathing.
Yeah, kind of, right? Like it's, and I thought it was interesting because I'm like, actually, yeah, if all you had to do was just provide frames and bones, and you just had to say, this has a little line that says grass, and this is a line that says horse, and the 5090's like, you got it, chief, and it turns it into that like beautiful photorealistic whatever's. It's like, yeah, I guess you could just do that shit.
I guess it's, to me, that's at least a little more interesting than the.
Agreed.
It's a little more interesting than the other like the thing we have been seeing, where it's like, look, you can make Breath of the Wild, where it's just literally generating frames.
Yeah.
So having that underlying structure that actually is the sort of game part, and the visuals are sort of being painted on, is a little more interesting to me.
It definitely.
I can see how that would actually work.
It's definitely the kind of thing that Jensen Huang saying this is affecting things at the geometry level. I was like, I feel like this is the kind of thing he means, where it's like define a character and then let the model take over and decide what that character should look like for you. You know,
I guess
as I feel like that's the, you know, we know what horse is, so we'll just make a horse appear, right?
Yeah.
I get that there's definitely like, I feel like there are people who want that.
Yeah.
They're like, I drew a thing. It's not quite where I need it to be because maybe I don't have whatever, but I'm just trying to get thing done here. But like the video games that I think about that I like the most have a style that's not photorealistic.
Sure, there's that too.
That's the other thing.
And I
is
don't
that,
know.
Yeah, none of the demos they did showed non-photorealistic stuff.
Yeah, that's the thing, right? They're just trying to make things look even more this aspect
true.
that's like seen as, oh well, the pinnacle of video games is making everything look like it's reality, and I'm like, yeah, except the video games that are the best don't look like reality.
Yeah.
I mean, all three of us
Unless
are
it's 428
fairly-
Shibuya Scramble, which is a FMV.
like all three of us are fairly deep in the like Nintendo sauce.
Yeah.
So we've already kind of thrown out the photorealistic.
Yeah. We don't need that to have a good time with a video
the
game.
photorealistic thing isn't really,
Yeah.
I mean, you want to throw Twilight Princess through there? I don't think that art style can get any worse. Those kids are creepy.
The other thing I saw actually in the comments to this video, or I think it was to another video talking about it, but what that I thought was actually kind of interesting was, or was a good point, was it was talking about like one of the things that has been a big push in the last 4 or 5 years to a big thing for graphics cards that has been sort of, because the problem that graphics cards companies ran into is that, about maybe 10 years ago, we kind of got graphics cards that were good enough to do like 1080 or 1920 by 1080. Like
Yeah.
the graphics card that I have in my computer is a GTX 1070, which is, the current ones are 590s. So
Yeah.
this is
5090.
5090.
Yeah.
So I have a 1070. So it's quite a lot. It's multiple generations back.
Yeah.
And it does fine
Yeah.
at 1080p. And so they did kind of run into a problem where they were like, why are people upgrading?
Yeah.
So, we got 4K videos. We got 4K monitors so that you need 4K things for me.
Yeah.
We got better resolution than that. But the big thing that they've been pushing lately is the super fancy lighting.
Specular highlights or like,
No,
what
what's
is
it?
called?
What's it called?
Is this derived from ray tracing somehow?
Yeah, ray tracing. Yeah,
Okay.
ray tracing.
Okay.
HDR and ray tracing, that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
So where they'll show those they show those demos of like Minecraft with ray tracing. You can see like all the like shafts of light
Oh yeah,
coming in.
the
and all this kind
Minecraft
of
looks
stuff.
amazing when it's being ray traced. Like it just is kind of like really appealing to me when I see it like that.
But as somebody pointed out in the comments, like if you're a game developer and you've spent a bunch of effort making your game super fancy with you've spent the last 5 years, locking, it's like ray tracing is going to be the thing.
Yeah.
You turn this thing on and it just paints over all the lighting
Yeah.
that you just worked out with whatever lighting it thinks looks nice, kind of roughly based on what you were like. You could have just given it like, a very simple lighting setup and it would have looked just as good.
Yeah. Yeah. What an absolute that'd be a heartbreaker.
But anyway,
Yeah.
it is, to be clear, or at least at the moment, it's well, it's not even. This is this is an early demo of a thing that will theoretically be very optional, but still.
I do like though that Heather, your
Keep making fun of it. That's good meme fodder.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
I do. Heather's computer at home, I think, is a 1000 series.
Oh, I have no idea anymore.
Yeah, I think it's a 1000 series NVIDIA card as well, and we haven't changed that since you got that computer.
If I never have to change out anything on that computer, that would be so great.
Yeah.
I do a lot of console gaming though, so like I don't really need it to do on a single stream setup, PC stream setup. If you're running like a heavy game and trying to stream at the same time,
Yeah, it's
that
gonna
might be
chug.
problematic. But like I don't usually.
Yeah.
I've like even the game I've been playing with Corey is I don't think that's a heavy graphic pull. So
No.
That's something that we run into here in the office. We obviously want to have, especially in the streaming office, in the Studio A, we want to have a good computer so that there isn't any problems with streaming and stuff. But because of the vagaries of Twitch and viewers and stuff, there's no point to us. We don't want us to be streaming at more than 1080.
Yeah.
So we've got I think we've got a 2060 or something in there.
Yeah.
And that is totally fine. I don't think we've ever run into any problems with performance in there. I mean, the only reasons why I would want to upgrade it, the graphics in there, is some of the other stuff. Like there's some sort of there's interesting, sort of background noise removal stuff, and some other things that NVIDIA has that is kind of interesting. And I don't know, maybe, I mean, if they can do it for video games, maybe they can do like the real-time Facetune stuff on the cameras too.
Yeah.
That'd be good.
NVIDIA also wanted to do
Snapchat filters. I'm pretty sure you can find those.
That's true. Yeah.
Remember PhysX?
Yeah.
That's not a thing that is really done much anymore.
That was like a physics coprocessor.
Sure was,
right?
yeah. And that was supposed to be NVIDIA's next big thing, I think, when they brought it out. And it was like, you're going to want an NVIDIA card for this because it does PhysX, and that you'll be able to do physics coprocessing that's realistic, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And then that kind of never went anywhere or materialized, and then that got thrown away. And I'm like, this DLSS thing has been working out pretty well for them because, for the most part, when you hear the deep learning part, you're really just picturing it as machine learning. That's like, it's, using that to go in the directions it's going into. And now that we've seen DLSS, like there was a tweet the other day where from NVIDIA Corporation, I don't think this was made up. Could be, who knows? You can't trust the internet these days. But it was them. We're
on the internet and
tweeting.
We'll tell you that
you can play.
But don't trust us.
DLSS 4 looks amazing in Nier, I think is what it was. And somebody responded to that with like, "Yo, they gone back to promoting DLSS 4," and I was like, I guess that you might also want to point out to people, it's like, you've been using this thing the entire time. This is just going to be the next greatest version of it. But you've been using this thing and you like it. Is that what they're trying to ask people to believe? I'm not sure, but
I mean, in the sense that there's not necessarily a point to like promoting DLSS 5 right now, in the sense that nobody can actually use it.
Correct.
Like, it's not actually like available anywhere.
Yeah.
But it feels like damage control if that was a real tweet, to be like, and I don't know if it wasn't a real tweet. It's just somebody pointing out that's like, hey, like it'd be funny if they were all of a sudden just backtracking. But
you show off a demo, you're kind of hoping for, I guess you're hoping that the response will be good.
Yeah.
And you're also trying to show off probably to investors as well. Like, hey, look, we as a tech company are doing techy things, and we are pushing the boundaries of whatever, because that's always like the tech motto, right? Got to keep moving past whatever the next goalpost is to show off how cool you are and that you're on the cutting edge, and you'll have the next best thing that everybody's going to want.
And then so anyway, obviously we will see how this shakes out. I mean,
it might be a while.
Yeah. Well, it's supposed to be coming out later this year for real. Whether it actually gets like used in any games and stuff, or whether it just kind of is a footnote.
I mean, that would definitely take longer, because if it came out at the end of the year and we have, I guess you could have some games decide to try to implement it at a late stage in their development, but that sounds risky.
But it also sounds like they don't need to develop. They don't need to implement anything, do they? It's just it's invading the game at the basic level.
The user gets to decide to turn it on.
I think so. Yeah.
It's like a DLSS is a setting that you can turn on in your settings.
Yeah.
It's a standard, like. Okay. At least previously, it was a standard thing. You could even like set how much of it you wanted on.
See, that's the thing that I wonder too. Right?
How much of it? What do you mean?
So originally, so the normal version of DLSS, you'd be like, I want you're like DLSS 1.5. So it's like give me 1.5 frames for every frame that I have. So
okay.
Like I'm running at 60 frames a second. I want you to show me 90 frames a second.
All right.
Or you can be like, I want twice the number of frames. It's like, so there was the user has an ability to dial that in.
Right. I would assume for something more visual like this, it's either like on or off. It's like what you do with ray tracing, not like, hey, only half the screen look whatever.
They have said that like the developers can have control over it. But I would assume there's sort of a base level that it does to everything. And then, but the developers can exert control over it if they so desire.
It Do you think a dev could make it so that nobody can turn it on for their game?
Probably.
Yeah, I also think that NVIDIA could basically force it on for everybody every time you install a driver update.
It's true. There's also, I mean, NVIDIA's control panels and stuff often do have, like, there are things that are actually very useful.
Yep.
Where you can, there are certain features like, say, what do you call it? Frame sync.
Right.
And different things that can make a game work better.
Yep.
And sometimes the game might not have an option to turn that on. And in NVIDIA's control panels, you can
Right.
usually force those on for certain games
Right.
and stuff. So
Yeah.
and I'm
Yeah.
assuming so there might be some options
Yeah, okay.
there.
I have seen that in like option menus. I've never known what that's really meant, so we usually just leave things alone. I think I turn on
It's only for very
like VSync is to help with screen tearing.
yeah.
So I know we'll turn that on quite often on
Yeah.
some rhythm games.
That's to sync on vertical blank.
Yeah. VSync you
I didn't know what the V stood for.
Yeah.
Yeah, it makes it so it stops screen tearing. Although at the expensive frame rate
Yeah.
to some extent because it has to sync up the frames. But
Oh,
it's usually
that doesn't usually bother me.
yeah. I usually like frame sync on.
Like I've seen, I've played stuff on PS5 and stuff, so I've seen like stuff that runs at 60 frames and it looks nice. 30 frames for a lot of stuff I play, because I don't play necessarily a lot of high action games on Switch, doesn't bother me. That would almost be like saying, oh, I need 60 frames per second for this visual novel that I'm playing.
Yeah.
Well, it's also like frame sync depends on the refresh rate of your monitor too. So
Yeah.
if what you're looking
Okay.
at is synced up,
Yep.
even if it's 30 frames a second, it will, it
Yeah.
looks a lot better than if it's like a weird refresh rate.
Yeah,
and
if
it
you're
messes up.
if you're trying to drive 45 frames a second, which is still a reasonable refresh rate, you're driving 45 frames a second on average to a screen that has a 60 hertz refresh, so it's refreshing 60 times a second, then you're going to have refreshes that are not being drawn at the same rate that the frame is hitting the screen, because you're not going to have as many frames. You're not going to have one for every one of those 60 hertz, and so thereby that's where you'll get that tearing and stuff. You'll get that kind. That's why everybody's like, we want to have 60 frames a second like play so that the screen can be synced up to that and it can actually look proper, which is very funny when you find out that the NES used to run at 60 frames a second back in the day.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it had to send everything out at either 2997 for NTSC, or it had to send everything out at 25 frames a second, but all the internal logic and processing calculation was all happening at 60 frames a second, and it had to basically turn it into like 30 or whatever the PPU had to turn it into to actually send it out the door. And I was like, that sounds like bullshit. There's no way that this worked. And it's like, yeah, it's just that it was doing all its calculation at that. It's just that sometimes it wasn't fast enough to keep up with what it needed to do, and then you end up doing calculations into the next frame of video where all the video data that you've been trying to calculate is only supposed to be happening during a blank period where you're not actually drawing anything, and all that video information that's supposed to be generated actually goes longer into the next frame of visual, and that's why you get slowdown and tearing and problems and all that kind of crap on the NES, is because it was just sometimes the code was inefficient enough that it couldn't all get done at the same time.
Well, I'm feeling teched out. Can we move to the next
Yeah,
story?
you bet.
Yeah, let's talk about Subnautica 2.
It might actually happen now.
Might actually happen. In fact, there's been a new trailer was released not too long ago.
Exciting.
So yeah, so the Delaware Court of Chancery, which I don't actually quite know what that is.
So the Delaware Court of Chancery is a business court.
Right.
Different than like a criminal court and a civil court. This is a court that's job is what it is to do is to oversee business cases about businesses, usually between businesses. And I have the definition somewhat wrong, but the best way to think about it is business court. We are going to business court to basically litigate an issue of businesses arguing with each other.
Okay.
Anyway, we've talked about this story in the past. The three
A number of times.
Yeah, the three founders of Unknown Worlds were fired because supposedly they weren't actually doing their jobs,
Yep.
as in like they weren't there.
Yep.
They weren't actually overseeing stuff. And so Crafton, and they also wanted to release Subnautica 2 and do early access in a state that Crafton deemed not ready.
Yeah. And so to catch you up on what happened there is that then the Crafton CEO asked his lawyers, who said, how do we get rid of these guys? You can't. Asked ChatGPT. ChatGPT says you couldn't. He says, okay, but what if I could anyway? And ChatGPT says, well, you would do the following things. And so he's like, sick. And so what they did is they cleaned out the Unknown Worlds board of directors, installed Crafton sycophants, whatever flunkies, whatever you want to call them. And then that new board said, we are getting rid of the CEO and the two other guys who were the founders of the company in the first place, because the two founders actually hired Ted Gill to be their president to run the company, right? Kind of Penny Arcade situation, right? You hire Robert Koo running your company thing. So they said, we're going to get rid of these three guys, and, which I did not bring up until the after show, and we're going to require that Subnautica 2 cannot be released unless the board signs off on it. Which means Crafton flunkies now have to sign off on whether the game is ready to go to release it. And basically, that means that they could just wait until the payout period has passed anyway. That happened. Then they went to court.
Yeah, and so they got taken to court, and the court has now ruled, at least on part of it, that they have to rehire one of the. Now, the court didn't. The other two guys are not being rehired, from what I understand.
Correct.
That's true.
Cleveland and McGuire.
Only Ted Gill,
yes,
is coming back, but he's not only being hired back as CEO. He is explicitly in the court order given authority over when to release Subnautica 2.
Yeah, he can proceed with the early access release when he deems it appropriate. And the reason why that's important is because when Unknown Worlds was negotiating their sale to Crafton, they had said that the way we want to run our studio is you have to let us run our studio. Like, you do not get to make a whole bunch of decisions and whatever else. They negotiated into the sale of the studio to Crafton that we get to decide when we release stuff. We get to decide how all this other stuff works. And they agreed. There was also this there's been this whole thing with this big bonus that there's a $250 million
maximum payout, so that basically if Subnautica 2 was released, they would basically get an amount for every sale.
Yep.
Up to $250 million.
They're getting $3.12 for every dollar they sell, which is a good deal if you can get it.
Every copy they sell?
No, for every dollar of revenue that they create. For every dollar of revenue they create, they get $3.12 from Crafton about it.
Does seem like a good deal.
Yeah, a bad deal for Crafton is what it feels like to me. Because, I mean, wouldn't you do matching to be like, for every dollar you make, we'll match that? But
I'm pretty sure this deal was made like in the height of the pandemic.
Yeah.
When they were like, oh, everybody's playing lots of video games. We got lots of money to throw around.
So my understanding is the reasoning they reinstate the CEO is because the decision is, well, you put this board together to change that rule, but you can't because that was part of the contract negotiation. And so we need somebody who can.
And then also the main justifications that they used for firing him in the first place ended up being like sort of they accused him of stealing data, which he did after they fired him.
Yeah, they were trying to use
post hoc.
future reasons for firing him as well,
because he downloaded a bunch of data, so he had
receipts.
Yeah,
essentially, like, it's like they said that
proof
they wanted to. They wanted to be able to protect the work they had done up until that point. And I'd have no idea what that consists of. But they also demonstrated to the court that all the data they downloaded they had encrypted, so that even if the data had gotten loose, somebody would have had to have decrypted it in order to actually make good on it. They're like, we downloaded this data and we protected it and we kept it secret and safe. But we had a copy because we want to be able to protect our work. And so here's where we're at. And so when they presented all that to the court, the court was essentially saying, you guys seem to be doing the things that show that you care about your work and about the stuff that you're doing. The reason why Cleveland and McGuire, the two guys who started the company, didn't get reinstated is because It was a couple of reasons. One is because the two of them had both decided to had previously taken reduced roles in the company, where they had their salaries reduced from $400,000 to $100,000 a year.
And they weren't participating. Like part of the argument was that they weren't in the.
Yeah.
Apparently, it was true that they weren't actually in the day-to-day operation.
Yeah, and it was because what they did help to do apparently is they were part of when they had kind of returned to work, because I don't remember Cleveland's first name. When he needed some time off because Moonbreaker did not do well. Moonbreaker was Unknown Worlds like other thing, and they're putting a lot of time into that, and so they had the team that was working on Subnautica Below Zero working on development of Subnautica 2. And meanwhile they were working on this other thing, Moonbreaker, which go look it up. It did not do very well, and Cleveland was heartbroken, and so he needed some time off, and he communicated with the head of creative development at Crafted about that, and he was just like, she saw him at like a party or something, he was like visibly distraught still, and he was just like, I don't know what happened. Like he was just kind of like my masterpiece, and nobody wanted it, right? Mm-hmm. And so his
moon got broke.
Yeah, he took a break and he came back, and McGuire was the same way apparently. It was like, I'm not interested in managing all of these programmers. I'm not interested in being the guy at the top that has to make decisions. I just want to get in there and muck about with the technology and actually be real, like get to the metal and do the stuff. And so he took a pay cut, because what he wanted to concentrate on was, how does the non-shooty aspect of Subnautica has no guns in it, right? How does the non-shooty aspect of Subnautica and the development, the play, and everything else, how do kids who are disabled and also have autism, how do they relate to this? And he wanted to do studies, and he wanted to kind of advance technology in that thing as well. And so that was his skunkwork stuff he was doing within Unknown Worlds. And so it's like, oh yeah, the two of them were no longer working on Subnautica 2.
It's true.
They were working on side projects to try to keep them excited and interested in doing these transmedia
it wasn't
things
unknown.
Yeah. It was just like Crafton knew about all that, and they demonstrated that in court. And so for them to be like, we're releasing these two guys as well as Ted Gill. Why? Well, because the agreement stated that ultimately these guys have control over what's going on with Subnautica 2, and we don't want them to have that because then they'll get their massive payouts, so we need to remove them from the thing entirely. So yeah.
Now the thing that I really liked about this story, and the thing that I found slightly unusual, and I wish more court cases happened with, is that, usually when you see a court case like this happen, the consequences will be like, there'll be a however many $1 million fine.
Yeah.
It would be like, usually that's how the court sort of leverages its power, is they'll fine people for money. But I love that this is actually like, not only you have to rehire this guy, but the court can give him the authority, like he's got the authority to release Subnautica 2. Like I wish more court things were like more specific to that particular thing. Like maybe she's like, and the new Subnautica 2 has got to have a multiplayer mode.
Yeah. Secret Subnautica fan.
Yeah. And don't put the sea truck in it. I didn't like the sea truck.
Give us the sea moth back. We want the sea moth back. Sorry, what? I didn't say anything.
I mean, like, this is if at any point in the future, if Lori Will, the judge who was on this, plays Subnautica 2, is that like a conflict of interest?
Yeah. Right? Yeah. It's like, oh, you did this because you want this. It's like, because Subnautica 2 would have eventually been released anyway.
I mean, it's getting released in May.
Yeah.
Apparently so.
It was going to be released no matter what. It was just going to have to wait until after the payout period expired. Well, the payout period expired December 2025.
But she extended it.
And now the payout period has been extended because it's like, you've made these guys go through all this bullshit, so we are what she's doing, I think, is a very clever idea, where it's and I think maybe this is why a business court is an interesting way to go. She said the decision the board has made goes against the original contract that you had signed with these guys in the first place. Therefore, I'm overturning the board's decision. It wasn't I'm reinstating the CEO. It's like, I'm overturning the board's decision to say that the board has control over the release of Subnautica 2. Now, if that's the case, I think that's working backwards from here, being like, that means that the people who are supposed to have that decision still need to be able to work for the company. But I'm only reinstating Ted Gill because he's the CEO of the company, and what that does is it provides adequate redress to make sure there's somebody in the position to say, this is when the game can come out because it's ready to come out. The other two guys don't get rehired because even though they were company founders, they're not part of the process of making that decision now. They have slightly different jobs, and bringing them back to the company would not provide adequate redress. It would be extraneous. Now, if Ted Gill wants to rehire those two guys and say you can have your jobs back and you can do whatever, I guess he can do that if that's what he decides is to help the thing along. I don't think it's a good idea to do that right now, because what it would ultimately lead to...
And, I mean, they don't seem that interested in it anyway.
Yeah, it's like, and what it would ultimately lead to is saying, now you're just taking advantage of the fact that you're CEO to try to make a thing happen. It's like, at this point, I would be very much about dotting my I's and crossing my T's and being like, we do this to the fucking letter. And when Subnautica 2 is released and when it's out of early access and everything is done, if I want to rehire these guys, I'll bring them back. If I think they deserve a cut of this reward, I'll give it to them. Like, so that's up to them at that point.
I mean, I wouldn't think I'd even stay.
Yeah.
He might decide he wants to leave too. Yeah.
You do, because you do hear about this occasionally in like wrongful termination trials.
Yeah.
Where it's like, that was a wrongful termination. They have to like reinstate them. And I always think that must be like, that can't, like, I get like having a big payout for wrongful termination. That makes sense.
Yeah.
But the like, you have to reinstate the person. It's like, that's just going to be an awkward working environment.
I mean, that person.
Absolutely.
I mean, as that person, I'd probably just quit. Like,
I mean, although like in this circumstance, it seems like everybody at Unknown Worlds is probably happy to have this guy back.
Oh, sure.
Yeah.
And
It's only the higher thing.
I think
Yeah.
he'll stick around until Subnautica 2 gets put out. It's just like, if this is the kind of treatment you're getting, do you actually stick around in a place past that? I don't think you do.
If there's no trust between you and the parent
Unless
company.
you want to do it out of spite, but that's like a really hard road to go.
Yeah. I mean, he's protected now because he basically has until the end of the payout period to see Subnautica 2 through to a certain point. At the end of the payout period, that's when it's like everything will be evaluated it'll be evaluated by the Delaware Court of Chancery as to, hey, did you achieve your stated level of payout to the maximum whatever? Did you not? Okay, now we need to actually hear arguments as to one way or the other as to whether you deserve that full payout, whether or not Crafton screwed you over and screwed the release of Subnautica 2. And I'm like, that's why I felt very confident that I'm like, they're going to get the payout. One way or the other, they're going to get the payout, because they're either going to sell so many copies just on the face of it that they're going to get it anyway, or it's going to be demonstrated that people were hyped for this game and then it got set back by 6 months, and we can show that, and they'll have to get it as a penalty. The Crafton will have to pay a penalty in the same amount anyway.
It'll depend on how this all, I guess, just floods out, because like I've seen plenty of comments of people who are like, oh, I can screw over this other company sort of by buying the game that I was going to buy anyway.
Yes.
Great. I intend to buy the game. But I've also seen the comments of, I have lost interest.
Yeah.
I mean, as somebody who is like a fan of Subnautica, but also I don't really go into early access games.
Yeah.
Like, I'm excited for it to come out, but I'm not going to get it
until it's fully done.
Until it's actually done.
Yeah.
Which is probably going to be, a year or two or whatever. So
a side note too.
I'm always slightly sad about that.
Yeah, it's true, because I'm waiting for it to hit Switch, right? So
which is probably going to be another amount of time. Yeah.
Exactly.
Probably, yeah, like a year or two after it's fully completed.
A side note is that when Cleveland returned to the company and McGuire came back to the company, when they came back to work on stuff, Subnautica 2 was kind of mired in like not making any progress, and they, upon return from like their little sabbatical, not sabbatical, but their time off, they came back and were like, so what's going on? And they made some decisions. They got rid of the person who led development for Below Zero and replaced them with a lead designer who had been working on Below Zero as well. I don't know if they identified that person as a problem or if it's just like that things weren't developing because that, I don't know. But that person was let go or reassigned or whatever happened to them. They no longer work in Subnautica 2. And these two guys then jumped in and were like, let's help you get this project back on track. And then the project got back on track as a result of their involvement. This is how they argue it at the lawsuit. And then they went back to doing whatever it was they were doing and kind of left development alone at that point. And which I thought was very interesting, that it's like, if that's true, and you could have people who work for the company speak to that, that's like material anecdotal, but still material evidence that it's like our presence was actually helping this to speed up development, and our contributions were actually helping move things forward. And so getting rid of us was actually detrimental to the development of the project altogether. Could be the case made.
Anyway.
Uh,
The last story was Cameron's story about Jeff Kaplan. I mean, I don't know if there's really much to talk about for that story. Mostly because
Dude is angry, and people either agree with him or they don't.
Yeah.
It's kind of how that kind of goes down.
I do agree with the idea of, if you're not going to participate in the thing by, like, it's not going to be part of your media mix, having an opinion on it, or having talking shit about it is kind of not helpful or necessary.
Yeah, it's just that person who is never going to buy your game doesn't like your game.
Yeah.
Okay.
But also I'm like, I agree with the thing of saying, hey, you might as well just shut the fuck up because nobody cares if you're not going to like a thing, if everybody else is going to like the thing. It's like, sure. But media criticism also requires that people, be able to look at a thing and evaluate it in all sorts of different ways. And it's like, if you're not going to play this game, talking shit about it is like, that's level 0 of media criticism. It's like, you're not going anywhere with that. Actually look at it, engage with it, think about it, and then provide real critical thought. And I'm like, I would hate to just tell somebody that's like, oh, if you don't like this thing, shut the fuck up about it. It's like, not at all.
Well, yeah, I think that's kind of like, it's the weird mix, because it's, you see it all the time online where people are just, oh, this thing is awful. And if you talk to them and you're like, oh, well, what did you think was so bad about it? And it's like, oh, I don't know. I saw a frame of it and it looked like garbage. And it's like, this is not a conversation. This is not useful. This is just a person spewing. And I'm like, yeah, we generally would like people who are just spewing to go away, because it's so much extra noise that you end up doing stuff with. And I'm assuming that part of like this commentary of saying that while playing a game to show off a thing is a lot of people potentially coming in and yelling at him. And that's a streamer breaking point for a lot of people.
Yeah.
This was hour 9 of a 10-hour stream.
Yeah, and that's also just like a really tired point at that. You got that viewpoint, but then the idea of like yelling at people to shut up also doesn't engage.
Do we have the clip? Can we play it back?
I didn't show it in the video because I felt like it would have messed with the pacing of Cam's presentation, and it didn't add to the story he was already saying.
Yeah.
I did look at it.
Yeah. And like Cameron said, it was definitely a very, it was a lot more cogent than just saying, you don't like my game? Shut the fuck up. No one cares.
It is.
It was definitely not that.
It's got a little bit more to it. Even that short clip does. But like, and that's why I say, if you watch the clip, you either agree with it or you don't, because there's a point, there's a part of it where you look at it and you're like, yep, people should shut up.
Yeah.
And then otherwise, sometimes if you've been on the receiving end of that, especially if you've been trying to be critical and people gauge what you're saying as noise.
Yeah.
Then I think you have the opposite reaction to a sentence like that as well.
Yeah.
Anyway, let's get on to some stories that we didn't cover.
Coming up.
Right, yes, of course. Coming up. Red from Angry Birds. Arla from Puyo Puyo. And Goro Majima from
Like a Dragon, Pirate Yakuza in Hawaii. That specific Captain Majima.
He's on a boat. I left that part
are showing up in team, are going to be on Sonic Racing Cross Worlds. Yeah, and Majima's got a little boat.
In the after chat, I left the extension of the thing running because Beach and Kathleen were talking about it, and I moved your dialogue over to match with it a little bit more. So like, I really like the fact that it's like Beach is like, oh, I just got wheels, and the boat like flips.
Yeah. It's cool.
And look, I know I wrote that coming up, and like I know it's probably not that big surprise. Like Sonic Crossworlds already has like non-Sonic characters. In it.
Hatsune Miku's in it. Kiryu Kazuma's in it.
Yeah, these are all
Yeah.
Sega things. Is Angry Birds owned by Sega?
I don't know. I don't think so.
Because Yakuza is and Puyo Puyo is.
Yeah.
So
I
the
mean,
Angry Bird
maybe
one
they published some
was-
rodeo stuff.
was odd for me.
I wonder. Yeah.
Maybe they've done the movie. I don't know. But anyway, so yeah, it's not new that there are non-Sonic people in Crossworlds, but it was just like, here are the 3 new characters. And it's like,
Sega
I know
bought
there's
rodeo.
like, Rouge the Bat and,
Yeah.
there's some pretty obscure, not that Rouge is obscure, but
No.
like if you go into like the Sonic Friends wiki,
Yeah.
there's some pretty obscure ones that
Yeah.
show up in like one game.
Vector the Chameleon or whatever.
I mean, I would
yeah.
love to see them pull out some really deep cuts from the comics.
Yeah, it's like I don't really remember the one where the Angry Birds showed up, but maybe they did. Maybe there was one.
Also, I'm pretty sure that whatever was going on in the Archie comics, Sonic the Hedgehog,
Oh, Sega bought rodeo.
is it's an AU versus other Sonic. Because like every Sonic cartoon
Sonic-
seems like it's its own AU of Sonic the Hedgehog.
Sonic
anyway.
into
yeah.
the multiverse.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
Well, they have that. The multiverse Sonic game would be Sonic Generations.
Right, of course they did. They already did
It's
that.
actually kind of cute.
Yeah,
I
heard it's actually pretty good. Yeah.
Yeah, that one's on the more good side of the column.
I was just waiting for like Diddy Kong to show up in Sonic Crossworld Racing. That like Sega goes to Nintendo's like, what do you think? We've done Mario and Sonic
that
the
would
Olympic
be-
Games. Like, do you want to do a crossover character? And they're like,
I wonder if people would.
we'll give
hate
you
that.
Dixie Kong, and it's like fine.
No, a lot of people really like Diddy Kong Racing.
Yeah.
It's like I've never played it, but I know that there's a love for that one.
Yeah.
Yeah, no. You don't get Diddy or Dixie Kong. You get like Funky Kong.
Right. We'll give you
Like
Funky
one of the
Kong.
non-playable Kong.
Well, you
That's
gotta
right.
have you gotta have Funky Kong because then you can have Funky Kong mode.
Right. We'll give you Funky
Right?
Kong.
That's the theme.
You can have that. You can't have anybody from who was ever featured in actual Mario Kart, but you can have
No,
Funky Kong.
though they've done Mario and Sonic at the Olympics.
Yeah.
So doing like a Mario versus Sonic kart racing thing would be really funny.
Yeah. If this did well enough, it is the kind of fun. I mean, that also though seems like an arcade crossover.
I mean,
That's
it's-
true.
From what I understand, Crossworlds is actually super good.
Yeah, it was a fun game. I
Yeah,
had a good time.
Yeah, I was enjoying it.
Was Funky in Mario Kart 8 really? Holy crap!
I
Oh my goodness.
I mean, I wouldn't doubt it. Mario Kart 8 has a lot of characters, but like different colored Yoshis and stuff too was
Yeah.
part of that.
Yeah.
Speaking of racing games,
Yeah.
Cyberpunk 2077 is getting a racing game,
Oh, okay.
Oh,
but it
Okay.
might be in a slightly different form than you think, because it is a racing game. It is like an arcade racing game, not the genre arcade, but the actual physical arcade racing game.
okay.
Driving is one of the best parts of Cyberpunk, is my understanding. So,
with
they have light cycles.
with sweet motorcycles.
I mean, when you go to the arcade, the racing games that let you sit in a vehicle are some of the more fun ones.
I mean, like that's to me that's
Kind of the
like the
reason.
it's like that. Yeah,
Yeah.
That's why that's what sort of arcades are now, because you can play most of the other games at home.
Yeah. Most of the, I think that's kind of the for a lot. I was watching James' channel, and he was restoring a Lucky and Wild arcade game,
oh yeah.
and he was saying that buying one of these is a terrible idea because any arcade machine that's been purpose built and putting it in your home, obviously this thing is massive, right? It does not fit. He's like, you should look for like a Lowboy, which is like one of those like half-size arcade cabinets that they would put in bars or something like that, or in like convenience stores, because then you can put whatever you want in them. They're kind of like easy to beat up on.
Yeah.
But something like this, where it's like, this is the reason to go to an arcade, and it really feels to me like arcades that are around to this day do more of this, don't they? They do more of the
Well, Western arcades, right?
Yeah.
Probably racing games. I would assume there's still a few arcades that are maybe pinball arcade only.
yeah, I could see that. I know
and
that.
then because otherwise in Japan it feels a lot like rhythm games, card games, and
You got like
claw machines.
Dance Dance kind of stuff with the
Yeah, you probably
Yeah.
still have Dance Dance
Well,
games in
and like
Western
the
arcades.
skiing games. I always liked those ones.
Yeah, when we
The
were
like Alpine Racer. That was like my favorite one
I
at
don't know
the
if I've seen
arcade.
that.
I don't remember when we were at Akiba last year.
They were almost all claw machines.
Yeah, and they did not have.
but there were
I couldn't
some-
find a Club Sega or a Taito station
Well,
or
yeah, a
whatever
lot of those got shut down during the
during the pandemic
Yeah.
because no one was going in to play them. So yeah, it's
or
a lot
just
of
after because they didn't.
yeah. So I wonder what they do with that now because I guess it's maybe just like less of a popular option.
We also
but-
didn't really go to like arcades proper.
We weren't looking
we were
for them.
in places that had just like a lot of gotcha machines and claw machines
Yeah.
and stuff.
Yeah. This looks really cool though.
Yeah.
And that's really neat that they're doing that. Oh, another
Which-
arcade.
Which, in the article about this, it says like this follows the other announcement of a Resident Evil 2 like light gun game.
It's the House of the Dead.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's going to be apparently also in arcades. So,
All right.
Pinball's in a sort of
cool.
renaissance. Actually, I was listening to a podcast that was talking about this Pokemon pinball.
Okay.
That's like you play Pokemon pinball on a real pinball machine.
Yeah,
but
yeah.
You like, and this is not new apparently. I don't play pinball, so this was new to me. You get like an app on your phone, and you scan a QR code, and that like saves your progress as you're like catching stuff. And because it's Pokemon, they like update to add more Pokemon, and you do different things in
crap.
the game. And I'm like, that sounds really cool.
Neat.
so
Like it sounds really interesting.
it seems like it's like almost like rather than like a pinball game, it's like a video game with a pinball controller.
Yeah, I mean, Pokemon Pinball itself, when it came out, is more than just you're playing standard pinball, right? You're like trying to do specific actions to get Pokemon to show up so that you can catch them and you can do whatever. And that's always been a little bit more interesting to me than get high score. But like they're not the only ones to do it. They're just the ones I'm like familiar with that do that stuff. But the idea of having like a physical pinball game that essentially has conceits like that, but you get to keep your progress on your phone app
Yeah.
is
That's
a really
pretty cool.
idea.
Yeah.
Mm.
Because they used to do that where you can get a custom card for like Initial D or whatnot, or they had also if you brought in like
an
your
SD card or something?
not your SD card, but if you brought in your memory card from your PlayStation or your Dreamcast, or like I think they might even had a
I see,
GameCube
right.
thing where it was like for Mario Kart. I can't remember, but some games did have that where you bring in your memory card and it would scan that and be like, oh yeah, I'll give you I see you've been playing Initial D at home or whatever, and so therefore I'll credit you as unlocking some cars and whatever else, so you can play here in the arcade if you want. And I love that stuff. I think it's so neat when they want to try to marry those two things together, because that's what brings people back to the
Yeah.
arcade to play the game.
I think we have a pinball arcade in town.
That would not surprise me. We have a whole bunch of other stuff that feels
I wonder if
very,
if
very
if
niche.
they have one of these things.
Is this Tekken?
Yeah. So,
All
So-
of a sudden, Tekken.
yeah. In addition to the Street Fighter 6 update, Tekken also had an update that is apparently somewhat controversial. Not incest controversial.
Oh, they didn't.
Right.
They didn't.
Yeah.
They didn't
No,
want to go that route.
reasons.
They want a
For
different one.
reasons.
Okay. Cool. What flavor did they go with?
So this is Tekken 8 3.0. Tekken 8 3.0 of 8.
Version
of Tekken
3.8.
Right.
Yeah.
Yep.
Uh,
3.0.
and it's also season 3 of Tekken. And so there's been a fair amount of before this came out, the Tekken, from what I understand, the Tekken community was not super happy with the state of the game in terms of balance and a bunch of stuff.
Okay.
So this patch was like is a very large rebalancing patch, but apparently it was not. They didn't do it right. They didn't fix the things that people thought needed to be fixed. They just changed a whole ton of stuff.
Oh, interesting.
To the extent that there's actually a bunch of stuff with like, various Tekken pros being like, "Fuck, that's it. I'm out."
This was their kind of their last opportunity to release
Yeah.
a big update where they'd be like, we're gonna do a lot of balance patches, we're gonna like refine some things, and instead it's just like, here's a whole bunch of new changes and nothing that people wanted.
Yeah, people will be kind of. But anyway, I have to say, one of the, we talk about we talk about patch notes a lot on this show because they're often
fun to
very
read.
very fun. The thing I love about fighting game patch notes is that fighting games, especially what we're talking, Street Fighter, Tekken, the really sort of competitive
Oh, yeah.
fighting games. The changes are so that any tiny change can make a huge difference.
Right.
Change, and they're talking, we're talking frames. Changing.
Size of a hitbox.
Yeah, all this kind of stuff.
Slightly less damage through a punch.
And so
Yeah.
they have, they make sure that they're very clear about what's being changed and stuff. And if you have a patch like this where a lot of stuff is being changed, then here let's see how long it takes to scroll through these patch. So we start the patch notes with. By the way, I like the little graphics on the side of the patch
you
notes.
just need to look at while you're trying to read.
So on the patch notes here, we've got, it's the some basic stuff. So the Tekken shop is updated, new costumes, ranked match reset, basic stuff.
Okay.
They're changing how ranked points are being calculated out, which could make some difference. Changing quick matches, practice, a bunch of stuff here. Okay. Playable character fixes. So they've been doing, they've been changing, adjustments that respect each character's concept, strengths, and weaknesses while preventing excessive performance gaps between characters.
Kind of a general statement and a really...
In version 3.0, the strengths, weaknesses, and distinct advantages of every character were reviewed. Adjustments were made with the goal of creating a battle experience which each character's individuality can be felt more clearly within neutral interactions and mid-games. Anyway, so this is, you probably can't read this that well, but anyway, so, we have
Nobody could.
all this, the different moves changing. So let's just take a look down here. You can see the scroll bar on the side there, the little black thing, showing this is very small text too.
Changes to moves, right?
Yeah, so these are all, it's like king, approach opponent, added new move, elevating spine cracker. Ooh.
Okay. All right. New move.
And king, hold these buttons, do this. So it's like
changes for every character. They're very small changes, but there's a lot of them because there's also a lot of characters and they changed up a lot of stuff.
Yeah. Lots of stuff.
Okay. I don't think it's the longest I've ever seen.
No,
but
maybe not.
It's fairly extensive.
Yeah. Wow.
So,
yeah, nobody checks their patch notes like a high-level fighter game.
Anyway.
That's and I mean, you're probably, if you're playing on a higher level, while you're going to want to read everything, your focus is going to be first on the characters the character that you main, right? Because that's where you spend most of your time.
Quickly jump down to there, like, what did they do?
But you do have to know
to
know how other characters work because you need to know how to like defend against them and fight them and stuff as well. Like you can't just only yours, but
I do love because you get obviously there's specific terminologies for different types of moves and stuff.
Yep.
Yoshimitsu's during heat move adjusted so that the opponent's behavior on hit so that it no longer triggers a wall splat. But what if you splat him into a wall? Shouldn't it create a wall splat then? Anyway.
I mean, this could be one of the many reasons people are angry. I just want to make sure I got this right. The controversy of this was that they made a bunch of adjustments and players aren't happy. There's nothing.
From what I understand, the change is not that they made a bunch of changes and players aren't happy. It's that they made a bunch of changes, but they didn't make the changes that
that people wanted
were
to
like,
make.
You didn't fix the thing that actually needed fixing.
So this is like a very standard. I am not saying that they're wrong to be angry, but this is a very standard reason to be angry. Not we did some sort of weird redesign
No,
of
this
a
is
character. We definitely didn't do an incest thing. We definitely didn't do
as far as I know.
whatever. The bear,
I-
he's still the bear.
I don't know
bear is still
anything
a bear.
about what the bear gets up to
He
in his
doesn't.
private
He doesn't
life.
like pull a zipper down and a dude pops out of the costume like Persona 4.
It's been 20
Spoilers
years,
for
and I wanted to let you know
Persona 4, I
I'm
guess.
actually a person.
Anyway.
I just want to double check because I
no,
was
that's
waiting
fair.
for like the really bad thing.
That's fair.
And I'm not saying this isn't bad, just it's a different flavor.
Doop-a-doop-boop-boo.
People stop playing fighting games for fun the moment they realize that if you just went a little too hard with it, you could ruin everybody else's day at your community arcade. And then that was the point where everything changed.
If I had been allowed to go to the arcade more regularly, yeah, I probably would have.
You would have been the shark.
Absolutely.
Aw.
I would have derived such great pleasure out of that. I was not a good kid. I was spiteful and mean, and I would have done it.
Actually, in the realm of games getting patches that could be controversial, Counter-Strike 2 has gotten a gameplay update patch
Okay.
that could change things. So Counter-Strike 2 been around for like 25 years.
Sure, yeah.
Or something.
Yeah.
It's been around for a really, really long time. Obviously, it is a very popular pro game. It's played by, it's played in a lot of competitive things, mostly because it's been around for so long. So it's like people know it back to front. They're apparently going to be adding an update that changes how reloading works. Basically, if you reload a partial magazine, you'll lose all of those bullets, like a real reload thing, rather than like partial reload.
Yeah.
Which is like, we want to change this to change, it'll make it, more realistic and change the dynamic. And
Yep.
it's like, true. And there's a lot of games that have come out since Counter-Strike 2 that do it that way.
Right.
Sure.
But the idea of changing it in this
Now.
game now just seems bonkers to
Yeah.
me.
Yeah.
Like changing sort of a very fundamental aspect of like, and people talk about like, when people who are long time, Counter-Strike or other games that do it in the sort of, you have a pool of bullets that you just kind of load in.
Yeah.
That, if you play other games that have it where we have sort of individual clips,
Yeah.
the getting rid of the
Yanking a half full magazine and throwing away 10 bullets would be like,
but being able to get rid of the automatic sort of unconscious reload every time you have a sec.
Yeah.
Because it's always like fire. Oh, I have a second reload.
Yeah, in any game that
That
lets you do a partial reload, you want to reload whenever you have the downtime to reload. It's like doing your healing in the most strategic points, right? Like you.
And that's such a deep muscle memory
Yeah, especially
to change
when you play
that,
for a long
and
time.
for a game that is like so high up in the pro circuit.
when I saw, let's go back a ways, when I would watch people who were really good at Lethal Enforcers playing that in the arcade, the ones who are really good were always like, bang, bang, click, reload, bang. Like they're constantly doing this over and over. And I was like, what? And they're constantly reloading. And then you realize it's like, oh, because then they're never actually out of bullets. They'll always have a full...
Yeah, you never want to be out
Yeah.
when you need a bullet.
They'll have all 6 that they need or whatever when the time comes to do it. Now, but watching them do it over and over, it's like, you just fired once. You have 5 more bullets. Wait until you're empty. It's like, no, because now I have 6. And it didn't cost me anything to do it. It's no bad thing to doing that. And so, I was surprised that is the...
Yeah, it's like we think the decision to reload should have higher stakes. So in today's update, reloading has been redesigned. Now when you reload, you'll drop the used magazine and discard all the remaining ammo instead of topping off your weapon with a few bullets.
Yeah.
A new magazine will be taken from your reserves whenever you reload. And it's like, yeah, that's totally valid.
Yep.
But also, where were you for the last 25 years? This isn't like a new piece of information.
No, exactly, right?
We just figured out how guns work.
Yeah.
Somebody showed us a gun, and we were like, that's how it works?
I was...
Oh man, we've been doing it wrong this whole time.
I was watching Let's Game It Out,
Oh, yeah?
Yeah. He was playing whatever this I can't remember what the name of the game is, but it's the new episode that just came out, and he had like he likes to break the game.
Well, yeah, that's his whole stick.
Yeah, it was a I'm gonna build some stuff, but also there's like a barrier around that I have to try to get over. The whole game is about like a giant sun that every so often has a huge like it does these huge like fire explosions, and you have to go inside and wait for the fire explosion to be over, kind of
Yeah,
thing.
all right.
So anyway, he had found his way into an area of the game that he shouldn't have been able to get into, especially at the very beginning of the game. But he was able to get there, and then he was like, oh, there's so far he hadn't had any guns in the game. He's just been kind of building stuff and doing things, and then he looks and he discovers there's like, oh, there's these corpses inside this like base that I've stumbled upon, corpses of people. And they all have ammo on them as a thing I can actually take off their body. So it's like, oh, so apparently ammo is something that is a resource in the game that I can use to shoot out of a weapon, probably, because of the whole thing. And he looks on the ground, and there's a gun lying right there, and he cannot pick it up. And I'm just thinking to myself, I'm like, is that a restriction of the fact that you're technically still in tutorial mode, like even though you're this far into the game?
He also tends to play early access games as well, so
yeah, it's
if
like
that's one of those.
You're supposed to be able to get to this point apparently in the version of the game that he has anyway, but it was just like the gun is right there. You should be able to pick it up if it's just a thing you can have, unless tutorial mode's preventing you from doing it. But it was an interesting idea of, right, if I pick up a gun off the ground, it's either loaded or it isn't, and you're always supposed to treat a gun like it's loaded whenever you find a gun somewhere, right? It'd be like there might always be like ammunition in it. And it kind of made me feel like, right, and you also don't know how much ammunition's going to be in it. If you're playing a game like PUBG or anything else and like you kill somebody and you take a gun off their body, I'm assuming they have like a certain number of whatever the ammunition is already in there. You don't just pick up an empty gun off of somebody who dropped it.
I mean, it depends on the kinds of game, but like, yeah, a game like PUBG or whatever where inventory is important, they'll usually, keep close track of that.
And they don't courtesy reload it for you or anything like that when you pick up. It's like, no, this gun had 7 rounds in it still, so that's what you get. You get that gun in those 7 rounds. And I like the idea of if you were to throw a magazine that's half used on the ground, like you just kind of like, I rip it out and I throw it away.
I mean,
you know, like, because somebody I think in chat said, "Oh, the being able to reuse a partially reloaded magazine, like a partially loaded magazine, is an interesting idea." And I'm like, that would be neat to be like, I tear off a partially filled magazine and I put it in my pocket and I pull it a full one and I put it in and I go to keep shooting things, and then when I'm out, I'm like, well, I'm not actually out. I do have these random magazines that I have no idea how many bullets any of these have in them, so I have to basically do some math to figure out like, oh, I only got 3 shots in this one, I got 5 shots in this one. It's like,
did he end up finding usable guns in Game This Out?
No,
because I feel like if you're depending on, I mean, most of the games that he plays don't tend to have like shooting elements in them. I think if you're depending on the kind of game you're playing, while the reaction would be, oh, I found ammo, I probably have something to put it in.
Yeah.
If it's a resource game, finding ammo that you can melt down or
Yeah,
turn
who
into
knows?
something else could be really interesting.
True. Agreed.
I like, was it, I don't know if they did it in the other ones, but Metal Gear Solid 2, whenever you reloaded, like whenever you shot your entire magazine and reloaded, your inventory would have an empty magazine where you could then like throw to distract people and do stuff like that.
Yeah, that sounds like
That's
something
good.
to do. Yeah.
Anyway,
Leave only footprints.
finally,
And empty magazines.
final story. Let's end on a heartwarming story or a
Alrighty.
positive story.
I like it.
Have you heard of the Steam game called Piece by Piece?
Oh, actually, yeah, I heard about this morning.
Yeah.
There's 2 of them.
Yeah. And you have 2 chances to hear about it because there are 2 games that released on Steam within 2 days of each other called Piece by Piece.
Oh,
Can you
no.
guess what happened, Beach?
Both indie games.
Oh no.
What do you think happened?
Um.
You just found, you're a dev, you're a tiny dev, you just found out somebody else also released the same game as you, also tiny dev.
Okay. Here's what I
2 very different games.
Here's what I think happened. They contacted each other like, "Hey, what the hell? Like, I can't believe this is a thing." And they're like, "Yeah." And then they were like, "Wait, this is super weird that this happened. Do you want to release a bundle?
Yes.
Yep.
Because this is a heartwarming story.
Absolutely.
So yeah, they contacted each other and talked to each other, and they're like, is saying, yeah, the actual situation that we both find, both ourselves and the dev team behind the other Piece by Piece somehow managed to announce the same week of release for both our games. We had a good laugh about it together, and then put both games in a Steam bundle.
And now we're friends.
Yeah.
That's sick. I love it.
And yeah, it's this like, yeah. See, as a small indie team, we, you might imagine how we felt when we first saw No More Robots Piece by Piece. The other one, the Neon Polygons is making like a puzzle. There's like a puzzle piece by piece, which actually seems pretty neat.
Okay.
I mean, they both actually seem pretty neat. There's a puzzle platformer one where you're like moving between puzzle pieces, and then you like move the puzzle pieces around to change the terrain that you're moving through.
That's cool.
And then there's another one that's like a cozy shopkeeping game where you're a little fox. So already it's way ahead.
Okay, yeah, like I do like games where I get to be foxes.
Yeah. Indie-
Those have not always turned out in my favor.
No.
But I also do like shopkeeping games. Those can be fun. I say that because I played a game once where you got to be a fox, and it was just a really long thing about running into some guy talking about his dad having cancer, and I was just like, what game did I get into?
Tunic was very different.
Tunic was much better.
Experience, yeah.
It was not shopkeeping, but
So anyway, both games are currently also on just like introductory discount.
Sure.
And then, but you can also do a bundle.
I always get
For,
taken in by being able to be a fox.
Yeah.
Or any other non-human creature, really.
How do they describe it?
Piece by Piece double.
Two games, one name.
Welcome to the Piece by Piece bundle. This bundle brings together both interpretations of the name together. A cozy repair shopkeeping sim and mind-bending puzzle platformer, united both by the name and the shared love of puzzles. So, anyway.
That's very cute.
And as they say, in there's a thread where they are talking about it. Like they're, theoretically, I think they're one of the devs of the puzzle piece game were saying that like they had actually been warned that there could be risks in reaching out to the other company.
Oh yeah.
From
Trademark.
from like a legal standpoint, right? You don't want to you have to be a little bit careful about sort of admitting that you are in the wrong or that what you're doing and stuff. So, but it's thankful that sort of more that reasonable heads prevailed, and they were like, hey, yeah, we don't have to be poops about it. We can just be nice and
yeah, sometimes things work
do all
out,
stuff, and it
which
just
is nice.
works out. So yay!
And honestly, they're probably going to get a lot more press over this than if the two of them had just released their games separately too.
Absolutely.
Which is,
Indeed,
if the games are good as well, that's a really nice way to stand out.
Jam a little bit of extra press coverage, and we're happy to provide that.
Yeah, this is definitely the kind of the kind of thing too, where it's like it's easier to do this when it's something you've created as opposed to something that you are, right? Like if it turned out that both of these developers had the same name for a development studio and they're producing two different games that have two different names, but the name of the development studio is the same, and they didn't realize they had that overlap, and they released in the same week, and be like, wait, so I just saw this thing that I need to make up a name there, Giant Polecat has just released this game, but Giant Polecat has also released this game. And it's like, you guys released two games? It's like, no, there's two studios called Giant Polecat. And then at that point, it's like, that's actually a harder fight to have, because which one of you changes your name? Do you go to court over your trademarks? It's like, this is who we are as opposed to what we make.
Do you have to register a studio name?
Well, if you're registering a business name, depending on where you register the business, you might have.
Yeah, I mean,
you could end up having collision.
Yeah,
right?
I feel like making the same title of a game is more likely than maybe making the same studio name
Yeah.
by accident.
Yeah.
I mean, and as some folks in the comments did rightly point out, because there are trademark things, and have been stories in the past of like, I know there's like the Dragon Quest versus Dragon Warrior, was like a trademark thing, or there was a famous one that we talked about with the like Elder Scrolls versus a game just called Scrolls.
Oh, yeah.
There was like an argument about that Bethesda at one point was just claiming anything that had the word scrolls in it.
What was
Zynga was trying to do that with, or King was trying to do that with a spit like not a Bard's Tale or something. It was like the Viking tale or something like that. It was like they were trying to claim
anything that had tail
or saga. Viking saga. They were like, no,
Right.
anything that has saga in it belongs to us, and everyone's
there
like,
was
go
that-
fuck yourself.
What, that Ubisoft game, Phoenix Rising, was called something prior that had like monsters or something in
Yeah,
it.
Immortals, Phoenix Rising.
Oh,
And then
right,
Gods and
yeah.
Monsters.
Yeah, it was like called Gods and Monsters or something originally.
Yeah.
and Edge
and
was.
yeah, someone got mad at them about that, and they changed it.
But as people in the comments pointed out, piece by piece is probably not like a name that could be trademarked in the same way, just because it is a fairly common phrase. So it's not. But yeah, also famously, what's this guy's name? I don't know, I forget his name, but there's a guy who was sort of a well-known copyright troll who went after anybody who used Edge in their name, like Mirror's Edge.
Right.
And we made the joke that we were going to make a game called Hedgie McHedgerson's Hedge Edger. Hedgie McHedgerson's Hedge Edger.
That's good.
Which I believe somebody actually made a demo game for. Anyway. So yeah, check out any of those games because they actually look pretty cool. But yes, that is all the stuff that we wanted to talk about this week, or it seemed interesting
It's
to
not
talk
a bad
about.
week. Like,
Yeah.
no layoff stories. I'm sure there were probably some,
but we didn't cover any.
so
so.
Nothing's
If
like
you
too
just don't
horrendous.
look
Like
at-
probably the worst one was that Street Fighter 6 one.
Look, if you just don't look at the bad stories, everything's happy.
I mean, there are some weeks I do that as a reset. I mean, you have to. Have you seen? There's too much.
My brother actually, as a test or as just a fun project when he was in university, wrote a program or a thing that it was like brought in like news RSS feeds and stuff, and did sentiment analysis on it. So like that was sort of the objective in the thing was to like use sort of neural network stuff to figure out things. So he did for how sort of controversial or how threatening a news article was. And so then it was a news reader where you could sort of set your current comfort level, be like, show me scary stories, show me only happy stories.
Yeah, that's not so bad.
It was just a fun project that he was working on.
Oh, that would have been a fun framing. The idea of Ted Gill getting fired but getting his job back would have been a funny framing to be like in a new reverse layoff.
Yeah. It's like we've lost however many thousand people to layoffs, but we've got one person back.
Yeah.
So
Yep.
that's
I mean,
probably doesn't even out. But anyway.
No, exactly.
By definition, it doesn't even out. You
Yeah.
can't thousands on one side, one on the other.
But anyway, thanks everybody for joining us, and thanks for helping us out in any way that you do, whether it's here on Twitch, if you're watching Twitch and subscribing to the channel, or if you're watching this on YouTube and you're a member of our YouTube channel. In fact, if you're a member of this particular YouTube channel, you get to have your name in the credits to the episode of ChillPoint. And if you haven't seen that episode of ChillPoint, you should do it because it's right here on this channel, and you'll probably enjoy it.
Yeah, I put a thing at the very end of the episode where Cameron just says nope. It's very fun.
It's like a funnier shorter version of what you just saw.
Yeah.
Maybe a little more cohesive even.
Yeah. Although probably less talking about Beej's childhood.
Yeah.
Well,
Although sometimes.
I mean, this week.
Yeah.
This week, less talking about Beach's childhood, but not always.
But and of course you can support us over on Patreon, patreon.com/loadingreadyrun. And with that, we will say toodaloo.
Toodaloo.
Bye.